Hello, hi everyone. Hope you're well. Hope everyone is doing okay. We are here today, the second episode of Search and Grow podcast with a new guest coming from is a Spanish marketer as well, and which is in the UK like me. So have something in common here. We have today Luis Bueno, who is an ASO specialist and SEO professional as well. And over to you, Luis. Please introduce yourself and tell people about you and tell a bit about your story.
Yeah, thank you, Tony, for inviting me. Glad to be here with you and glad to share also conversation with other Spanish people that has been living for a while in the UK. I think it's quite an experience. And that's probably part of my story that I came to the UK 7 years ago. I think I'm going to make 8 years now. My background, it was first in kind of communication. So when I came here, I didn't know much about SEO. I did a master's degree. Uh, and then heard some concepts, but I've never worked really as an SEO in Spain. So I started as a kitchen porter. That was my first background in the UK, and then I moved to an agency in SEO. I was lucky because they were looking for a Spanish speaker. So that's where I had the advantage, and I convinced them that I could speak Spanish, so they hired me. And I started more in the offside. So some people start the same in agencies, just doing link building, those kind of campaigns. Then I made some progression there and got promoted. And I moved from kind of the offsite department to the more SEO technical department, where I had to learn a lot. I remember when I started in the department, I was way below my colleagues, but it was nice. They were very helpful. And then after that, I moved into SEO in-house. So kind of the good life of SEO people, is going in-house, and so you're able to see that you do actually has an impact. It's not only recommendation. And in terms of ASO, it was kind of like 3 years ago that in one of the company I work for is a company called Photobox. They realized that they had a quite a strong mobile audience, and the competitors were starting to release mobile apps and offering the same in mobile, right? So they created a new mobile app, and that's where they were looking for someone to do some ASO. I was interested to learn more about the topic. I didn't know much, but I started to get into that, learning and reading some blogs, and starting to get more involved into that and created some strategy for that. And right now, I'm working as an ASO specialist for King, which is actually the company that created Candy Crush. So it's a bit different the ASO I do right now, because it's different when you do ASO for apps than for games. But yeah, happy is the first role I have that is full on ASO.
It's a great journey. Sounds like you've been busy over the past few years in the UK,
Yeah.
and I think I like that how you made progress, move from one place to the other, and I think that's one of the greatest things, when that you move from different, you have the adaptability to move into different positions, different companies, and learn different areas. Which SEO, we're gonna talk today about ASO, but then obviously some we can we can mention some things about SEO, which is an area that we both have in common and that we both love as professionals. And yeah, being an SEO consultant as well, can you tell people what the main differences between SEO and ASO?
So to me, ASO, so I think both are relatively young disciplines, right? And young fields. People have been doing SEO for a while, but what will be the maximum, like 20 years, something. But ASO is even younger than that. The ASO started around 2009 or 2010 when the App Store started to be developed. And it was until recently, like 5 years ago, where the marketers started to do more complex strategies, and also Apple and iOS started to develop more dev stores. So, in my opinion, Google, in terms of the search algorithm, is much more developed. It's constantly changes. They do a lot more changes. They have different algorithm updates for different things that what happens in ASO. So in that sense, ASO is a bit how SEO was like 5 years ago, especially in terms of the keywords and that
Mhm.
kind optimization, right? The other main difference I'd say is that in ASO, one of the big parts you need to concentrate to optimize is the conversion rate. So in ASO, there are kind of two areas. There will be one for visibility and the search optimization. So try to rank your app as high as possible in the store. But also the second part, it tries to improve the conversion rate, and that means that try to get as many downloads as possible when people arrive to your store, right? And that is a part that we've been talking before. It's not as common to do in SEO, or maybe when you do conversion optimization in SEO is once you have all the other topics and you are now like the leader of your industry, right? So you can focus on other things such as conversion rate. However, in ASO because you work with creatives, you need to constantly be doing A/B testing in the icons, in the screenshots, and also in terms of learning. ASO is a niche, and there are not so many courses available, so many resources as in SEO. I think in SEO, I feel that in the last few years, there's been a lot of people doing courses and monetizing that type of offering, right? But in the past, you learned SEO by practicing and also looking at some blogs, going into some forums and asking questions. So ASO is a bit like that. There is a few resources and a few agencies that does a very good job. But as far as I know, there is not kind of specific courses you can do. All the courses you can do are quite basic, right? So it's a bit like that. And in terms of the structure about the department, my feeling is that it's been very hard task for people to realize in the companies that SEO is quite important for your bringing business to to your
Mhm.
company and kind of giving the importance to the SEO department that in the past it was tough to fight for resources. I think right now they, especially after the pandemic, right, realize how important this is. In ASO, it's kind of the same. Like we are still trying to fight for being more relevant because you will be part of other departments that also include like paid ads or performance marketing. And as always, that's for them is quite easy to show the results and to show the revenue they bring back, right? So ASO is a kind of still not still getting that kind of relevance inside companies in terms of the department.
Yeah, so it's obviously like there are quite a few differences in terms of like like different areas of obviously algorithm is one important you mentioned SEO and so different obviously Google is constantly like changing things and update with updates and things like that, but then it's interesting what you say about resources for ones obviously don't have many resources. So I believe you do quite a lot of self-learning, testing, trying, and trial error and trying things by yourself without having so much resources or places to learn. And then in terms of like obviously department it's like a marketing is so huge and then different areas and there's always like battling and to get the
Yeah.
enough attention or enough resources or enough that you can get the best results for obviously for the project that the app that you're working for.
Yeah.
And I like when you mention about the Candy Crush and then you're working for something different, but then you say something about the games, the difference between games and apps. So how is that much different between games and apps purely?
So when you do ASO for apps, basically what you are targeting people that need to resolve a problem or a need, right? So for example, you have a dating app, and the problem the people have, the user have is that they need to meet people, they want to date. In a game, you are targeting players, and the majority of players they know how to play the game, so they don't really you don't really need to explain them about the features or about like how to use the app because they know how to play the game. You need to get them excited about the game to tell them like, okay, look at these characters, look at these multiplayer modes, look at how you can play online with 1,000 people. For an app, or another example could be like a navigational app like Waze or Google Maps or whatever. You need to explain them, okay, what is the app about? What is the app? How is the app is going to resolve your need? and why this app is unique, and you need to download this one instead of others. Right? So there are, because of that, you use different strategies also when you optimize for conversion. And also people search differently. When they search for an app, they search for like shopping app or whatever, or supermarket, or recipe, healthy recipe, something like that. When they look for a game, they are looking for specific categories like puzzle game, match-3 games, or games with X
Yeah,
character,
that's
whatever, right? So it's kind of different, the strategy you follow for one and for the other. ASO, for, I would say that in gaming, ASO is better considered, because in gaming it's all the time improving that kind of conversion and testing different things and different creatives. And that's what gaming is about, right? To try to engage the user. Oh, that's another difference. In the game, you want the users to stay longer playing your game. In the app, what you want is that the user use your app every day. So it's a different goal.
repetition. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, was that's so interesting. I mean, from someone that obviously is not, I'm not in the working in the area of ASO, is very interesting to know. From a user point of view, obviously I understand, because I'm a user, not as much of games, because I don't really have much time, but then obviously downloading apps and different apps, obviously as pretty much everyone is listening, they download apps constantly, and I'm using or not using them depending on different things. And next question is more about the tactics. What are the key tactics that you recommend to any business that like to optimize the app store?
So the first thing I would say is to understand your audience. That's usually, as a business, is a work you need to do. Uh, but in App Store, I would say understand your audience from the point of view, like understand which are the features that your audience prefer or like the most, because those are the ones that you want to highlight, right? So some business, they think that, okay, my app, the best feature are this and these, but then when you really release the app and you look at the reviews and how people react to it, maybe they are more interested in another feature that you are not highlighting so much, but they found that interesting. So you really need to know what audience you are going to target. If you can, especially if you are starting, just focus on a niche, because okay, a sports app, there are thousands of sports apps doing different things. But maybe if you are focusing more on a specific sport and a specific niche or market, you will have higher chances, because same as in Google or in SEO, it's difficult to compete with the big players, and more it's more difficult that a small company, a small app will compete well with big players. So you need to find your niche, and also understand better your features. So you do that by reading the reviews, analyzing competitors, or maybe even if you can, doing some focus groups and showing them the app and see what they think about it. The second one will be about testing, and that's the key in ASO. You need to test everything. So you release the app with an icon in one color and with one logo, and just change it and do it another one and test it for a while, and you will see which performs better. Maybe an example in the sports section now is the World Cup, right? So like, can you try to add something related to that in your logo? Does it work better because now people are searching more for World Cup things? So that kind of thing, the screenshot, the same, the video, there are a lot of things and a thousand combinations you can create. You need to be creative sometimes and even tested things that are kind of out of the ordinary. So ideally, you look at the competitors, see what they are doing, and try to replicate. But sometimes it works when you test something a bit more crazy, as long as it's not outside of the guidelines that Google and iOS give you, because you cannot do everything, right? The idea of those assets is that you show how is your app inside and what you are offering. You cannot say that you are offering a sport app and then inside you have another thing. And the last one I would say is to also work together with paid. So I think that's another difference with SEO. In SEO, the amount of ads you do doesn't have an impact on your organic rankings, but in ASO it has, because both stores look at kind of the performance data you have. So if you have a peak of downloads because you've done an external marketing campaign, you've done more ads, that means that both Google and iOS will look more at your app, and that means that you can get also higher organic rankings,
Right.
or better organic. So it has an impact, and there's been some people trying to study it and showing some results when they keep doing ASA, so app search ads or other type of ads. and they show that there is an impact and a correlation between both sides. But it's all about, because they want, they look at that type of numbers, like how many downloads you have, how quickly you convert keywords into downloads, and also for both of them, for Google and Apple, those kind of ads are also a big business, so they want people to invest on them.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm learning so much today. But then, obviously, the testing area is key, right? You got to test constantly, and I like you saying that. But in marketing in general, testing is absolutely key. But then, understanding the features and analyzing all the data, your audience, how they behave, and all of that, and then the one that just gave me, like, obviously that is obviously that you invest in ads and then affects how much you invest in and all of that. But then it could make sense, obviously, in Google. Some people might say that to get people convinced to run ads, but then that's not the way to approach people to lie in, because it doesn't obviously help. If you invest in Google ads, it doesn't help with organic. It gives you data, though. It gives you data to understand things, but doesn't. But it's quite interesting, that as well, and I'm sure the audience will find that very, very interesting, that the correlation in between investing in ads.
I guess the problem you always have is that people who make ads, they always focus on the return of investment, right? So there is a certain point where they will tell you there is no point to invest more because it's not going to be profitable. However, I've seen some studies of people saying, like, you can't keep investing, because even if you, in terms of the return of investment for your paid ads, is not bringing you much benefit, you keep having organic downloads. But obviously, it's a challenge to convince someone who works in performance marketing or paid ads that they need to keep spending money just because of the organic. But there's been some studies showing that, and I think that's interesting. So yeah, in ASO there is more correlation than it is in SEO.
Yeah, it's really cool, actually. Really cool. I'm loving it. So I'm loving it. Learning a lot about ASO today, which is great, mate. Thanks for that. And the next one will be about more the challenges. What are the main challenges of doing marketing and ASO for an app or for a website? I mean, different things. So
yeah, so say the main challenges are your test, because the results of the test sometimes cannot be conclusive, and that's what happened the majority of the time. Like, you test 3 variants, and the results can tell you, like, okay, variant 2 and 3 can be the good one. So you need to either rerun it again or do it in another environment. So for example, the way you do the test, you can do it in Google Play for free. They have an A/B test tool that you can use. You can do it in iOS too. However, the A/B test is still being developed, so I would say it's not as good as in Google. But usually, if you work, you're in an ASO department, you will also have other tools, where what they do is to create a kind of external environment where they create a simulated App Store listing. And what you can do is to do testing in an external environment and just send people to that environment. They will see the kind of fake store listing, and you can test things in there. The good thing about that is that if you are testing something that is horrible, it won't impact your conversion rate because it's not a live environment, right? The problem you have is that, okay, you will have the results in that simulated environment, but then the results in the simulated environment are only a guidance. So you still need to do the same test in a live environment, right? So it's difficult sometimes to read the results of the test, and that would be one of the challenges. The second challenge is in ASO you rely on 2 companies. So if in SEO you just need to pay attention to the Google Developers blog, in ASO you need to read Google Developers blog and then Apple Developers blog, because there are 2, right? And it depends really on what they do. They compete each other, so in general they release similar features, but there are differences in their strategies. And also, what it works for Google, it doesn't always work for iOS. The audience is different. The person who's got an iPhone has a different experience as a person who's got an Android. In Android, you have so how many different models you will have in iPhone? Like 5, 6 different screens, maybe. In Android, can you imagine how many different devices and screens you have in Android? So the experience for each of the customers is totally different. And in that sense, it's the same when you do ASO for different countries. So you cannot use the same creatives of as a kind of an extreme example is different from Europe than from Asia, right? But if you're going to go deeper, it's going to be different from US than what you're going to use for Spain. So you can also need to localize for your market. Usually in ASO, the main market, especially for games, is the US because that's where the majority of the market is. But you need to localize and adapt to the market. And also it requires creativity. So for example, for me, I come from SEO. So I come from looking at keyword rankings, traffic, numbers, and all the time. I think my mindset went a bit analytical in that sense. I'm not a data analyst, but I went all into Excel files, screaming for data, SEMrush, all of that. And now I come to doing creatives. To be honest, I'm not so creative at all. I don't know. You know, when you are a child, you are a lot creative. I lost that already, and you need to be creative because that's the kind of thing that resonates with your user. Fortunately for me, I work with really good designers and people that are super creative, and in general, you have that support. But I think it helps if you have a more creative personality.
Yeah, so one main challenge is the creativity obviously involved in adapting things to
Yeah.
different platform, Google or Apple, or also like different devices and experiences and designs and all of that, which obviously is so much different from obviously what SEO is like, which is not that well. It can be creative in some ways, but more
Yeah.
with content, and with other things, not that in that way. Yeah.
And I think that the other thing too is that, or my feeling is that when you do SEO, if you are well considering your company or if the client pays you attention, you have a bit more control about the product, so about the website. In ASO, you control only the first part of the funnel, so it's until the App Store. After that, you don't have much control about what is happening inside the app or what the product team is creating, right? So you can make some suggestions, but you cannot influence much. I feel that in SEO, there are certain things that you can do in the website to help improve the SEO.
Yeah. It's absolutely like obviously there are lots of different challenges, and then it's the creative side and lots of differences obviously when the control and then you can measure properly once the creative, and that's really interesting as well. So what the main I would say what are the main SEO and ASO digital marketing tools that you can live without, or that you really use like as a daily basis for work, and you recommend?
I think I'm not going to be very original with the SEO ones. I've used the classic Screaming Frog. That's very good, and I think everyone appreciate how they keep the level and they keep raising the bar all the time, right? And every time they do an update, it's even better. The tool it's been there for longer, but it's still one of the main favorite tools for different SEO people. And then the classic one, Ahref, SEMrush. I guess two that I used in my last role as an SEO manager were OnCrawl, which I feel, maybe you've heard about DeepCrawl, right? OnCrawl is the same as a French company, and they are very good when you have a massive website. If you have a massive e-commerce where you need to do analysis on a lot of URLs, you cannot use a Screaming Frog so much, especially if you use it in your computer. It's going to explode.
It's going to crash. Yeah, it's going
It's
to
going to
crash.
crash. But
Completely.
OnCrawl that the same, but online, right? And they manage to do that, and they have a lot of filters. I really recommend it. I use it just in my last role, but I found it very useful. And also Content King is just a tool that gives you alerts, especially when you work in house. You want to spot the issues as soon as possible because there is a lot of people touching the website. There may be a developer that suddenly deleted the robots or index testing site. Someone from brand decided that the H1 was not cool enough and they changed it and remove all the keyword, that kind of things. And Content King is quite useful for that to give you real alerts in real time and let you know what is going wrong. So I think those ones were the main ones for me. Guess as a consultant right now doing more local SEO, I use some local trackers that kind of show you like the map and where you are ranking for different location, right? That's also useful to see. But I think with those, that would be the main ones for me. I've always worked in agencies. So I've always had the ability for the agency to pay for me or for the company to pay for me. I know it's a bit different when you need to pay for those tools because they are not so cheap, right? But at least Screaming Frog is affordable and you can do it. For ASO, uh, right now we use UpTweak, which is kind of an all-in-one ASO. So UpTweak is great because it gives you data about your competitors. You can explore their icon, you can explore all the screenshots, the metadata, the keywords they include in the metadata, what keywords they are ranking for, what keywords they are driving them installs. You can also search for different categories, understand what are the trends in terms of, for example, the colors they use for one specific category. You will see also even data for the ads that they are using. For your own app, it's good because you can also do different, track your keywords, track your changes, and even they allow you to play with different title or subtitles, so changing a bit the metadata to see how it looks like. So that would be the main one, but there are others similar to that, such as App Figures or Sensor Tower or Data AI. Then for testing, I'd recommend Store Maven or GeekLab. I think Store Maven is for testing is probably the main preference, and that's the tool I was talking about, creating a different environment and testing the thing. So it's interesting because of the amount of data they give you. So Store Maven or GeekLab too, they will tell you exactly when people arrive to the App Store listing, how many screenshots they scroll. So how many views you have for the first, the second, or the third, because people usually see the first, maybe the second, but third and fourth, they don't see so much. They will see what is the scroll rate for that. If you have a video, you will see where people stop watching the video, so you can optimize from that. They give you a lot of data when you do that kind of test.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty cool. I mean, all those. And obviously, first time I hear of them, but then of the ASO, the with the obviously the SEO ones. I love that all the ones that you mentioned, and Content King. I used it, and it's really good, especially like you said when you work with a team and it's a big project that people are messing with things, and then you can find one day that what's going on with this and why has everything changed so much, and it's good to keep on monitoring. And from the obviously the ASO tools, it's good to know them, and then I'm sure like people will find interested. I will also add them in the description so people can know about them, and then the link so they can check the information anytime as well. And moving more, we talk about. I mean, you shared loads of great content about strategies, tactics, challenges, SEO, and ASO, store optimization. For those who obviously not as familiarized with the term, then I'd like to ask you something a bit more like more stuff a bit more personal. So, what if you could name three people or professionals that you kind of like follow, and then 3 books, and then 3 music bands. No, we're gonna do. Let's change a bit. We're gonna do 3 people. Sorry about that. My mistake. My mistake. I'm pretty tired actually because yesterday I had a very long day. So as you can see on my face, the ones I watch in YouTube, we're gonna do 3 people, right? 3 books, and 3 films. All right. So there you go.
I think we have to clarify that was actually my request because I'm more into movies than bands. But happy to share some bands too. But I'm more into movies actually. So for people, I'm not sure what you think about that, but I think in SEO, for people, we have actually in Spain quite a good level. I'm pretty proud about that because I've learned a lot from a lot of Spanish people. And when I learned SEO here in the UK, but I learned a lot from Spanish people, and I think we are kind of top. And there are some top people in there. Obviously, people will think about Alaida Solis and other people, but actually, when you go to Brighton SEO, there's a lot of Spanish people there. I think the community in Spanish is quite good. So my reference or two of them in Spanish are Juan González Villa, who is he's got an agency. It's called Useo, and
Mhm.
also he's got a popular blog, and he is quite good. His background is as a journalist, and you can see that when you read the blog. Obviously, the blog is in Spanish, but you can see that when you read the blog,
Mhm.
how he explained the concept quite easy. He was also good with Data Studio. He became quite popular because he shared a couple of reports in Data Studio templates you could use, and I've used. And I think a lot of SEO, other SEO have used them. But he's very good at paying attention of all the updates and commenting all of them and releasing a new blog article every time there is a new article or a new feature in Google, right? Or new algorithm. I think he's quite good, and I like it because of the way he explained. Some other SEO has other backgrounds, and maybe they are more technical. He makes it quite easy for people to understand when he talks about SEO. The second one is MJ Cachon, who what was the tool she used to work for? What was one of the
Sistrix, Sistrix.
Six Tricks? Yeah, Six Tricks,
Hmm.
and I think she still collaborates with them,
Mhm.
but she's got her own business, and she's quite good. And also, she was probably one of the first women or first Spanish women I saw in SEO, and also good because I think in SEO we are a lot of guys, and it's always good to have another point of view. And she was one of the first women, and she's super professional when she explained things too. She's very good. She explained quite advanced things. So I like how she does it. And I haven't know the name because it's difficult to pronounce. In English, I follow also Arish Abwali, who is the founder of Tech SEO Women. She's super
Mhm.
good. I think she works now for one. It's a kind of. It's not a photo business company. It's kind of handcraft company or whatever. But
Mhm.
she's done a lot. She formed that group of women in SEO, and she helped and coach a lot of people. She's also super approachable. I contacted her once in LinkedIn. She didn't know me, and I could have a call with her and ask her questions. So very very good people to follow, and she's also very into fighting for SEO people to have good salaries
Hmm.
when there are no like right condition for women or for other people. She's also always commenting about that. I really like the work she does. In terms of ISO, the Spanish guy I used to follow is called Daniel Perez. He built an agency. I think it's called Picasso, the agency he built. He's also into the SEO world a bit. I'm not sure he's in front of the agency
It's from
anymore.
the Backstreet Boys, no? Isn't
Yeah.
you know them, don't you? It's a group of they created. I think it's on that group on Twitter. On Twitter, they do
Mm.
like a weekly
Yeah, that's true.
get together, and they with other SEOs. Well, is ASO, but then also SEO, I guess, and I don't know him
Yeah,
very well, but I've been following on Twitter, and then they call themselves like Backstreet Boys. So uh,
yeah. He's
so,
quite good, and I think the way he's got to communicate is quite good too. I think he's also into gaming and retro gaming, so he's interested in some of the streaming he's made. And the other one is Sergi Rodriguez. I don't think he's so popular, but I follow him on LinkedIn. He's the ASO for Bumble. Bumble is a dating app, and it's obviously
mhm.
important doing ASO there. And he usually comment and release some comments on LinkedIn when there is some updates about ASO. So interesting to follow too. You can say that I'm quite proud when I see Spanish people doing it well.
Oh yeah,
So I usually
yeah.
follow them.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you with that because we have lots of people, and the greatest thing is not only they are good at explaining things, they also very contributive. They share lots of content constantly, presentations, resources, like blogs, like Juan, tweets about explaining things, translating into Spanish to for other people, and that's the beauty of things. They know a lot about stuff, but they're not keeping to
Mm.
themselves. They share it with the community, and that's what it makes them even better because they share it with people, and we all learn from them. So I learn as well from all of them.
Yeah, that's I think that's great about the SEO community. That in general people share a lot, and that's a good environment because everyone has something to offer and to learn. In terms of books, I'm going to mention one first that it's going to be a look. It's going to look a bit like I'm super into self-help, I like to read some of them, but actually I'm mentioning this one because it helped me, especially when I came to the UK. It's called The Miracle Morning. It's basically the story about a guy who started to wake up super early and do a lot of things, kind of that kind of self-help. So I don't know, I don't do everything they say in the book. It's basically to tell you, okay, wake up early, do some diaries, do sports and everything. I try to have a healthy routine in the morning, but it was inspiring to me because the guy basically had like a terrible accident, and he recovered from that, from a terrible car accident. So he's got a bit of a breakdowns in his life. Also, recently he got a cancer and everything. So it's kind of a story that I think is very inspiring. Apart from that, it tries to give you a bit of a methodology that you don't need to wake up so early to do it, but it kind of gives you some steps. And when I came here to the UK, that especially at the beginning, you have some tough moments to adapt and to find a job and everything. I think that helped me, and I found it that inspiring. In terms of SEO, you will heard about that one. It's the art of SEO. It's the kind of with the bird in the cover.
Yeah. Heard of it.
I think and they've made different edition. I think it's a good one to read and learn the basics. So if you're starting SEO, and even if you've been in SEO for a while and you haven't read it, it's a good book to read and probably refresh some of the basic of SEO and even some other strategies that you can try. The last one is, what color is your parachute? And that is one more for doing interviews and kind of facing how to look for a job, how to understand what are your skills to do that.
I haven't heard of that one, but that sounds cool. Yeah,
it's quite popular because I think it has a lot of different editions right now. I got recommended by one of my teachers when I did the master's degree. So it was a girl who was into HR, and she recommended it to me. So I don't know, maybe I think especially it's useful for people who is starting his career, because at the end of the day, the process is the same for everyone. So they give you tips about how to face different questions, but especially it's about how to understand what are your skills and what are your weaknesses, right? And how to look for a job, because looking for a job is it's no more about just sending your CV. You need to do a lot more things. So I found it very interesting and it helped me.
I think I would always say that looking for a job is actually a job. when I had you need to have a structure and organize and spend enough time and searching and stuff. So it's quite interesting. We'll share those ones with people as well. Yeah. Very cool recommendations. Don't need to share the films.
Okay, now up to you.
No, I'm kidding. Go for it.
Okay. So yeah, for the movies, I put Die Hard. I think that's one of my favorites. We will need to understand at some point why in Spanish they translated as the Crystal Jungle and not Die Hard. It's a bit interesting.
That's a joke that my wife she always says, what the hell you translated like Crystal Jungle.
Who thought about that? But I don't know. It's a classic film that when I was a kid, I wanted to be like Bruce Willis, and it's a classic action film. But I'm not sure about you, but I didn't know it was a classic Christmas film, because in the UK it's a classic Christmas film for I think for Spanish people in Spain. It's like, okay, an action film, but we never thought about that just for Christmas. But I think it's funny that in the UK they really value the movie for Christmas and they put it every Christmas.
Yeah, no.
And the last two ones are The Goonies, which is kind of a classic. I think it's from the 80s. So if you like kind of Stranger Things, that kind of TV series, I think The Goonies is a good one. And Goodfellas. Ray Liotta, those kind of like mafia story. I think that was a good one.
Yeah, great ones. Yeah, great ones there. Obviously, I like them both. I love the three of those films. To be honest, I'm with you. So, if you were to choose another profession, obviously which is not like SEO or ASO professional or specialist, what would you choose?
I would be journalist, so I would try to become a journalist because that's what I studied. So that was how I did at uni. I studied journalism. I think it's probably because I never liked to have a lot of money in the bank account. So then I decided, okay, why not to be a journalist and then work a lot. But I think it's an interesting profession, and you learn a lot, and you are in contact with with a lot of people. It's difficult to actually make money. That's the problem. To have a stable job. That's probably the reason why I moved into marketing. But I think the profession is beautiful because it opens you a lot of doors to meet a lot of people, learn from a lot of different things. So I would try to become that.
I love it. Would you travel around the world as a journalist
If they
to
allow me,
different?
yeah, I think probably the job I would get would be kind of in a local radio or something. Not so not traveling too much, but yeah, ideally
Oh,
it's different now because with all the streamers and the communication is changing a lot. So look what we are doing now. That when I studied journalism, I didn't think about this doing this kind of streaming or podcast or whatever. And now everyone is kind of a communicator, right?
oh,
So
these days, if you're a journalist, you need to know about social media, communication, anything, channels, so how to, yeah, all of that, podcast. Yeah, definitely. It's a bit of marketing as well, isn't it? These
yeah,
days, you have to be a marketer as well. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
100%. 100%. So, what do you recommend? Obviously, we talk about the ASO. What do you recommend people to learn? Any blogs or any publications or that you would like to share?
Yeah, the tools I mentioned. So UpTweak has a blog. It's quite good. UpFigures has a blog. Then there is another ASO agency called Feature,
Mm-hmm.
Phiture, and they do a lot of analysis, more in depth. Maybe Feature is more in depth based on data, more a bit more about advanced ASO. But I think those three sources are quite good. There are a lot of people also in Twitter talking about ASO. There are some communities in the Slack. You can go there and learn. But I think those three blogs should be more than enough if you are starting in ASO and want to learn more.
Brilliant stuff. Great stuff. So, and the last thoughts, how people can find you, find some of your content, or connect with you, and yeah, where the best channels to, or the best ways to kind of like find you.
I'd say in LinkedIn, if you look for Luis Bueno Tabernero, that's my second surname in LinkedIn, you will find me there. I try to check LinkedIn from time to time. I don't do, or I don't post as much as you do, Tony. I would love to do that. I actually don't know where you take the time to do all of that. But yeah, on LinkedIn, you can find me. Also in my website, luisbuenoseo.com. You can find me there, or just send me an email to info@luisbuenoseo.com.
Brilliant, great stuff. Also, well, people, that's how we kind of like met, because we link, we're connected on
Oh, I forgot
LinkedIn,
that.
and then you running your own channel. Tell people
Yeah,
about it.
that's true. That's true. I forgot about that. I think that was quite of a great project. We are not so many actually, but yeah, at some point 2 years ago, I think it was during pandemic or something. I created a small community. It's called SEO Londoners, which actually is a Spanish-speaking community. It's for people living in the UK that are working as a marketers, such as Tony and me. So yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure even if the website is still there active. It's seolondoners.com, I think it was. But if someone is interested and they want to contact me on LinkedIn, I will add them. We usually, I think it's a good platform to have some support, to meet other people, ask questions. There is some specialists very good in different that are very good in different fields there. People are super collaborative and super supportive. I met some people in real life in the Brighton SEO, and that was beautiful. It was like three of them, but it was beautiful to meet new people just because one day I created that platform. So yeah, SEO
I love
London.
it.
Let's
I
join them.
love it, mate. I love it. I think is that's how the beauty of, obviously, not only the sector, but then creating something like a community, and having the tools, and like a Slack or anything, like we can connect there, and we can help each other, and sometimes just have a chat and about things, SEO, or any other area. Sometimes not only SEO,
Mhm.
but then I'll recommend people to join. I mean, if they're listening, and we take the opportunity to say hello, hello to everyone
Totally.
from you, and yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, this is like, for me, I mean, it's exciting because it's interviewing someone. It's been like me living in the UK. We kind of like, making our own way, working different projects, and and I know it's special, and then people will find it quite interesting, maybe to see it to Spanish guys talking English and and having a good chat about in this case ASO, but then marketing in general and things. And I really appreciate your time, Luis. It's been an honor, and hopefully people will enjoy it, and we'll leave some, obviously they more happy. We're more happy to answer questions if people drop any questions or want to reach out to Luis or to me on LinkedIn. That would be obviously our pleasure to help everyone. And thanks everyone for being listening to the podcast, and I'll see you at the next one. Take care. Bye. Thank you, Luis. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.